Chapter 1286. Evolution. Legion Commander ****. Lin Moyu felt a slight joy in his heart, having truly succeeded. The Lich General had completely changed from before. However, the art of dominion was not finished. Awakening intelligence was only the first step. The second step was transformation, using the undying flame to transform him into a true commander. The Skeleton General had gone through this transformation before, personally transformed by his master. However, he had recorded the steps of the transformation in detail. The transformation required the undying flame, which only his master could control. So he was not worried that others would obtain the technique and complete the art of dominion. Except for his master, the art of dominion was useless garbage to others. But Lin Moyu happened to control the undying flame. Although somewhat different, Lin Moyu felt he could still use it. The undying flame flew out from his palm and landed on the Lich General, transforming it. The Lich General's leather armor turned to ash in the undying flame, revealing its sturdy, dark body. Beneath the armor, its muscles bulged, containing immense power. Then patterns appeared on its body, gray and white intersecting, containing the properties of the undying laws. The patterns formed a complex and profound rune, glowing and interweaving into a gray and white armor covering the Lich General, making it look even more imposing. A huge, thick battle blade appeared in its hand, sharp and emanating a keen aura that even made Lin Moyu's skin hurt slightly. Lin Moyu could feel the Lich General had undergone a huge transformation, with its combat power greatly increasing. But at the same time, Lin Moyu frowned. The Lich General had changed, and although still his summon obeying his commands, it now had wisdom, like an independent entity. He could no longer recall the Lich General back into his spell constellation.
Troublesome.
Lin Moyu didn't expect this to happen, feeling like he now had two heads. As he pondered a solution, the infinite fusion spell slightly moved. It enveloped all the spell constellations, including the one used to summon the Lich General. It then moved slightly, and an invisible force fell upon the transformed Lich General. It fused the aura from the
Summon Lich General
spell constellation with the Lich General before him, merging the two auras into one, inseparable. The previous connection was restored, and after the transformation, the Lich General became Lin Moyu's summon again, able to be recalled into the spell constellation at any time. Lin Moyu felt slightly joyful, not expecting the infinite fusion spell to have this function as well.
Indeed, infinite fusion, able to fuse any spell or law.
Lin Moyu breathed a sigh of relief, his worries gone. The infinite fusion spell moved slightly but then became still again. Not long ago, it had absorbed the mysterious iron block given by Su Jianqing and had been quiet since. Lin Moyu knew it was absorbing the mysterious iron block. This time, it had only moved slightly, like a sleeping person turning over and continuing to sleep deeply. The infinite fusion spell was the most mysterious of all Lin Moyu's spells, and he could not fully grasp its functions. However, he knew it was very powerful and could potentially be the strongest of all his spells if used properly.
I need to study it carefully when I have time.
He turned his gaze back to the Lich General, checking its attributes. Legion Commander. Level. God King 3rd Stage. Commanded Units. 100,000. Ability. Command. Command. Can command an undead legion, forming an independent army. 1. Can heal himself and his commanded legion, including poison, soul damage, physical damage, and all abnormal conditions. Healing other undead will weaken the effect. ***. 2. Can revive his commanded legion with the undying flame. ***. 3. Can enhance his commanded legion. The more units in the legion, the greater the enhancement. ***. 4. Can gather the full power of the legion for a fatal strike. Cooldown, 10 minutes. ***. The Lich General had evolved into a new summon. It had changed from the Lich General into the Legion Commander. Just the name differentiated the two. Names changing was not unusual. Seeing the God King 3rd stage level was also normal. But when he saw the command ability, Lin Moyu was stunned. This command ability was different from the description on the animal hide. At least, it didn't have the 1st and 3rd abilities described on the hide. He then realized these were the Lich General's original abilities. Under the transformation of the Art of Dominion, these abilities might not have been retained. But the appearance of the Infinite Fusion spell not only retained the original abilities but also amplified them. The healing ability had changed. For his own legion, the healing power was greatly amplified, providing all-around healing. But for other undead, the healing effect would be greatly weakened. As long as there were enough legion commanders, the weakened effect wouldn't matter. This trait allowed the legion commander to fight alone or in groups, handling both situations. Secondly, it could also revive its commanded legion, using the Undying Flame as material. Lin Moyu had plenty of Undying Flames, though not as powerful as the torch's flame, but enough in quantity. Lin Moyu roughly estimated that a legion commanded by him and an uncontrolled legion would have vastly different combat power. Just the mutual enhancement between members would overwhelm an uncontrolled legion. Now he had to consider which legion to have the legion commander command. The ideal would be the skeleton god generals. But the skeleton god generals were not basic summons, only appearing when needed through fusion. After some thought, Lin Moyu decided to have it command the bone dragons first. Since the Death Dragon Knights rarely appeared in major battles, having the bone dragons commanded wouldn't disrupt his rhythm. With a thought, 100,000 bone dragons were assigned to the legion commander. The legion commander bowed again to Lin Moyu.
I was originally your servant. Please bestow a name upon this legion, my lord.
Lin Moyu thought for a moment, too lazy to come up with a complicated name. Since there would be many such legions in the future, if he had to name each one, his soul might explode. He directly imitated the human race's naming method.
You shall be called Commander Number 1, and your legion the Undead Legion Number 1.
Commander Number 1 did not question it, bowing again.
Thank you, my lord, for the name.
Lin Moyu originally wanted to test Commander Number 1's combat power but noticed the undying flame on the torch shaking slightly. A crevice appeared beside it, and a highly concentrated drop of the water of death flowed out. The water of death accurately fell onto the throne, dripping onto the remaining bones. The bones instantly absorbed the water of death, emitting a faint glow. Before Lin Moyu's eyes, the bones suddenly grew larger and emanated a sharper aura. Lin Moyu was startled. After experiencing the ancient tomb, all the previous experiences came together at this moment. He finally understood what the ancient tomb was doing. 1287, 1287. Chapter 1287. Playing with skeletons all day, only to be played by skeletons. The ancient tomb had appeared on the battlefield for tens of thousands of years. It absorbed the laws of death from the battlefield, absorbing the power of all those who died in this area, making it its own. The fountain had accumulated enough power, going from dry to spouting again. The bones were growing larger, with the spark of life deep inside being nurtured. It was going to be revived. Not only the skeleton general was going to be revived, but the entire cemetery, this tomb for war, was going to be revived. Thinking of this, Lin Moyu suddenly leapt up from the throne onto the coffin. Standing on the spacious edge of the coffin, he carefully looked inside. He remembered that when the meteor shower of flames appeared earlier, a ball of flame had crashed straight into the coffin. But before that, he had looked into the coffin, and it was empty. The two didn't match. Now that he had guessed the purpose of the skeleton general and the ancient tomb, Lin Moyu couldn't help but check the coffin again. If the skeleton general was to be revived, he was still missing the most important thing, the soul flame. The soul flame was the foundation for skeletons, just like the soul for living beings. The soul flame was the core for the skeleton general's revival. The coffin was completely empty, visible at a glance. Except for some gray ash, there was nothing. The gray ash seemed to be what he had seen in the previous scene, the meteor shower of flames that had crashed into the coffin. Lin Moyu couldn't be sure about this. He carefully sensed it, and after a few seconds, his gaze shifted, finally landing on the torch behind the throne. Looking up along the torch, he saw the undying flame at the very top. A skeleton appeared beside him, connecting to his undead vision. The colors of the world changed, and the undying flame gradually dimmed. In the center of the flame, a soul flame was vigorously and fiercely pulsating.
It's actually here.
The skeleton general's soul flame did exist, but it wasn't in the coffin or on the throne. Instead, it was inside the undying flame. He was using the undying flame to nurture his soul flame. Before his true revival, he would only follow the rules from before he slept. Just like the skeleton soldiers in the cemetery, following the rules from before they slept to guard the cemetery. Lin Moyu didn't know what level the skeleton soldiers in the cemetery were at that time. Now they were at the 3rd stage of God King, but they definitely weren't at that level back then. Otherwise, mere 3rd stage God Kings wouldn't have the qualifications to suppress a rebellion. They would be like sending dishes to a feast. Because the expedition to suppress the rebellion had failed, and the skeleton general had perished, the skeleton soldiers had died or been injured. Although they were later revived by secret methods, the entire skeleton army was no longer as powerful as before. If he went down now and the skeleton general revived in the future, with the skeleton army regaining its backbone, they could recover in an extremely short time. At that time, it's hard to say what the situation on the battlefield would become. Lin Moyu didn't know how powerful the skeleton general was, but just the fact that he had existed for countless years meant he couldn't be compared to a god sovereign. If such an existence was revived, it would have a huge impact on the entire battlefield. The moment Lin Moyu saw the soul flame, it began to pulsate violently. It seemed to have sensed Lin Moyu's gaze. Lin Moyu's heart pounded fiercely, a sense of immense danger arising from the depths of his heart, pervading his entire body and soul. He had never felt this way before, not even when facing the second avatar of the abyssal dragon demon. Lin Moyu felt like he was going to die. This was the skeleton general's soul flame. He hadn't revived, had no consciousness, but Lin Moyu's prying had provoked his retaliation. This was an instinct, but this instinct was already strong enough to kill him. Lin Moyu felt as if he had been locked onto by an ancient ferocious beast, unable to escape. The gray flame flickered, and a beam of fire fell, landing on Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu couldn't move or dodge, instantly turning into a human torch. The gray flame, also known as the undying flame by the skeleton general, was imbued with a dense aura of death, almost the same as the power of death in the undying laws. But to Lin Moyu's surprise, the undying flame didn't harm him. It wasn't because of his passive spell immunity ability. The gray flame contained powerful laws, rendering spell immunity useless. What truly allowed him to be unharmed was the undying laws. His entire body was filled with the undying laws, which seemed to form a barrier, blocking the gray flame.
The undying flame mentioned by the skeleton general really does have a connection with my undying laws. If not exactly the same, they must have a profound connection.
Lin Moyu's heart sank, his connection with the mysterious manor and the ancient tomb deepening once again. This wasn't a good thing, but it piqued his curiosity. The danger still existed, and Lin Moyu still couldn't move. An immense power enveloped him, suppressing him. Outside their soul worlds, a giant skeleton skull appeared. This was the skeleton general's consciousness, intent on killing anyone who dared to pry into his affairs. The skeleton skull roared, and red light suddenly emerged from its empty eye sockets, like two sharp swords piercing a crystal barrier. Lin Moyu's soul world shook violently, and the crystal barrier let out a creaking sound, as if unable to bear the weight, with numerous cracks rapidly appearing on its surface. Lin Moyu's soul suddenly opened its eyes. This was the second time he had encountered such a powerful soul attack. The first time was from the empty sound Buddha of the Buddhist race. But back then, he was still weak and his soul world was also very weak. Now, however, he was at the peak of the 4th grade of the true God realm, with a jade soul tinged with purple. Ordinary god sovereigns couldn't easily break through his soul's defenses. Yet the skeleton general had easily done so, and this was merely his instinctual consciousness. Lin Moyu's soul power rapidly surged, maintaining his soul world. At the same time, he was shocked. The skeleton general's strength was truly terrifying, perhaps even surpassing a god sovereign. The soul was the foundation, and one's strength could be seen from the soul. Lin Moyu exerted all his effort to maintain his soul world, but the cracks on the crystal barrier continued to expand. The branches of the talent tree extended from his soul world, wildly whipping towards the skeleton skull. The red light exploded, and the branches of the talent tree were instantly shattered into dust. The talent tree retracted in pain, the gap between them too vast. The 9-colored dragon soul crystal let out a fierce dragon's roar, and a divine dragon's illusory form appeared outside Lin Moyu's soul world, breathing dragon's breath towards the skeleton skull. The skeleton skull split off a wisp of red light, sweeping it over as if it were a mere glance. The divine dragon's illusory form instantly dissipated, and the 9-colored dragon soul crystal, like the talent tree, retracted as if severely injured. Lin Moyu felt a slight despair in his heart. The talent tree and the 9-colored dragon soul crystal had been defeated too quickly, utterly crushed.
Am I going to die here? Playing with skeletons all day, only to be killed by skeletons.
Lin Moyu's heart inexplicably produced this thought, feeling a bit ridiculous. But the next second, he steadied his resolve. He could die, but he couldn't die so easily. He could still fight. The talent tree couldn't. The 9-colored dragon soul crystal couldn't. But he still had his soul's main body. This was his home field, and his soul's main body was very strong. His soul's main body pointed a finger, and the soul-severing sword flew out, slashing towards the skeleton skull. The soul-severing sword whistled as it went, with formidable might. A red light turned towards it, striking the soul-severing sword. With a bang, the soul-severing sword flew back. Lin Moyu's soul suddenly stood up, his soul power surging. His soul world shook, and numerous skeletons appeared, along with the skeleton king. The undead army couldn't appear in reality, but it could still appear in the soul world. But facing the skeleton general, Lin Moyu had no confidence. At this moment, the calamity staff in his soul's main body's hand suddenly emitted a dazzling radiance. 1288 Chapter 1288. Need to properly study the calamity staff. The calamity staff radiated brilliant light, and the soul gem on it shone brilliantly. A purple glow enveloped Lin Moyu's entire soul world. The cracked crystal barrier was quickly repaired. Moreover, a layer of purple radiance also spread over the crystal barrier, easily blocking the skull's attack. The purple light surged again, enveloping the skull. The skull suddenly trembled and shattered with a thunderous sound. In that instant, Lin Moyu regained control of his body. The wings of the undead instantly spread, and he shot straight up into the sky. At an altitude of 1,000 meters above the gray flames, there was an inconspicuous small hole. Lin Moyu had noticed this hole earlier when the fiery meteors fell. The hole appeared hidden in the sky, not very obvious. Later, Lin Moyu observed it discreetly. His soul force probed into it and sensed an aura from the outside world coming from within the hole. Teleportation symbols would likely be useless here. Lin Moyu didn't even try them. If teleportation symbols worked, those god kings wouldn't have been trapped and become cemetery cleaners. So after entering this place, Lin Moyu had been searching for the exit. It wasn't until the fiery meteor shower appeared that the huge hole in the sky became visible. That was an image from ancient times, but it was also a real scene. The hole shrank rapidly during the fiery meteor shower but didn't disappear completely. Lin Moyu didn't hesitate and charged straight into the hole. The scene changed, and when his vision cleared, Lin Moyu found himself at the bottom of the third passage, in front of the high wall. He was facing outwards, with the thick black fog behind him. Lin Moyu didn't think twice and immediately took out a teleportation symbol and activated it. This was the right time to use a teleportation symbol. The teleportation symbol emitted a gentle glow, enveloping Lin Moyu. Then Lin Moyu's figure disappeared from the ancient tomb. At the center of the cemetery, on top of the mountain, the undying flame was still burning fiercely. The soul flame at the center of the undying flame began to pulsate rhythmically, as if a consciousness was gradually awakening.
The staff. The staff.
A murmuring voice came out, like the sleepy mumbling of someone not fully awake. As the voice came out, the bones on the huge throne also began to glow. Black water of death dripped out from the undying flame, falling onto the bones, causing the bones to rapidly recover and revive at a faster rate than before. Outside the ancient tomb, Lin Moyu appeared abruptly. He then took out the Battle King Tower, transforming into a stream of light and flying away into the distance. At this moment, he had no other thoughts except wanting to leave the ancient tomb. If that skeleton general chased after him, he would only have a path to death. It wasn't until he had flown billions of kilometers away that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. This time, if it weren't for the Calamity Staff suddenly taking action, he would have truly been in danger. Fighting in the soul world was even more perilous than in the real world. Although his undead army was numerous, he had no confidence in dealing with the skull manifested by the skeleton general's consciousness, even if it was just his most instinctual consciousness. Lin Moyu realized that he didn't understand the Calamity Staff or the soul gem on it at all. He only knew it was a supreme treasure on par with the Great World Runes, but he had no idea what its specific functions were or how to use it. The soul gem seemed to be able to enhance soul defenses, but he was unaware of its other functions. This time, it was the Calamity Staff that took the initiative to attack, helping him escape danger.
It seems I need to find time to properly study it. But my current realm is too low. I don't know if I can study a treasure of this level.
Lin Moyu pondered in his heart. All cultivators knew that the level of a treasure wasn't necessarily better the higher it was. It had to match one's own level. Just like a true god would find it difficult to wield a treasure meant for the God King realm. Even if they could use it, they couldn't bring out much of its power. The level of a treasure had to match one's own level. Lin Moyu knew the Calamity Staff's level was very high, and his own realm was far from enough to wield the Calamity Staff, so he had never studied it in depth. Lin Moyu also thought about the scenes he had witnessed in the ancient tomb and his various guesses. He pondered whether he should tell Zhu Qiwu about what happened inside. After much thought, Lin Moyu finally decided to tell Zhu Qiwu about the events in the ancient tomb. As for what Zhu Qiwu would do, that was not something Lin Moyu could control. At least they would be prepared. If the skeleton army in the ancient tomb truly revived, the human race would also be prepared. Before he knew it, Lin Moyu had returned to the 7 to 10 forward base, then transferred through Fortress Number 7 to Fortress Number 1. Only Fortress Number 1 had the Human Emperor network, which could directly send messages to Zhu Qiwu. The message contained only 2 words.
Something happened.
As long as the message was sent, it would eventually reach Zhu Qiwu. Lin Moyu didn't care about the process. Lin Moyu wasn't worried that Zhu Qiwu wouldn't respond to him. As the saying goes,
the fewer the words, the bigger the matter.
Zhu Qiwu would definitely come to find him. Lin Moyu then went directly to the mission center to turn in his mission. The 4th mission was completed, and he should have chosen a combat-oriented mission. But the 4th mission wasn't combat-oriented, an incorrect choice. However, Lin Moyu didn't care much about it. He believed his mission score wouldn't be low. Even if this mission didn't earn extra points, the other missions would make up for it. Entering the Divine City was his goal, but this goal could be achieved in multiple ways. Lin Moyu was no longer as cautious as when he first entered the battlefield. As his combat strength grew stronger and his level increased, Lin Moyu's confidence also grew. He was well aware of the results pursued by the various human race regulations. If even his level of strength couldn't enter the Divine City, then probably no one from the human race could enter the Divine City. He had seen geniuses from the Divine City, like the Sword Dao Immortal and Su Jianxing, who were born in the Divine City. They were indeed geniuses, at least capable of fighting across levels or even realms, but compared to himself, they still seemed to be lacking. Lin Moyu was now confident that he could instantly kill Su Jianxing. If he and the Sword Dao Immortal were at the same realm, he could similarly defeat the Sword Dao Immortal. So in terms of missions, he could relax a bit and didn't need to pursue perfection. After waiting in line, he smoothly turned in his mission and received 5,000 points. There were no additional rewards this time, and Lin Moyu didn't continue to take on new missions. During the time he was turning in the mission, he had already received a message from Zhu Qiwu.
Come to the military area.
After leaving the mission center, he saw Zhu Qiwu standing outside. People came and went around them, seemingly ignoring Zhu Qiwu's presence as if he didn't exist. Lin Moyu wasn't surprised. He stepped forward, greeting him.
Greetings, senior.
Zhu Qiwu asked.
Is it about the ancient tomb?
Lin Moyu nodded slightly.
Yes.
He wasn't surprised that Zhu Qiwu knew. With Zhu Qiwu's authority, he only needed to check to know what mission Lin Moyu had taken and could deduce what Lin Moyu had done. Zhu Qiwu's expression was also somewhat grave.
Follow me.
Lin Moyu remained silent and followed Zhu Qiwu into the military area. 1289, 1289. Chapter 1289. Waiting for a sad result. The noise gradually disappeared, and the surroundings became quiet. Lin Moyu occasionally saw passing soldiers. Whether walking alone or in groups, they were silent. They wore battle armor, stood tall, and exuded an aura completely different from ordinary cultivators. This was the military area, where ordinary cultivators had no access. Even though Lin Moyu held an honorary title, he couldn't enter at will. After all, it was just a title, not a real soldier. He enjoyed some privileges, but there was still a difference from real soldiers. But now, with Zhu Qiwu leading him, they could move freely here. Zhu Qiwu walked quickly, and the two soon arrived at the center of the area. A grayish-blue building came into view, a square house, not very tall. Lin Moyu felt an unusual aura from the top of the house, making him feel a bit dangerous. The danger pricked like needles, causing his skin to faintly ache. The house was surrounded by taller buildings, hiding it from view. Even from the fortress above, if one didn't look carefully, they would overlook its existence. Zhu Qiwu noticed the change in Lin Moyu's expression and smiled.
That's the core of the fortress, with a starry sky array engraved on the roof.
He didn't say more, believing Lin Moyu would understand. Lin Moyu just responded with a faint,
and
didn't ask further. The Starry Sky Fortress was a powerful war weapon, and once fully operational, its combat power was terrifying. Countless secrets were hidden within the Starry Sky Fortress. Sometimes knowing too much wasn't a good thing. Zhu Qiwu suddenly asked,
Kid, aren't you curious this time?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Zhu Qiwu couldn't help but laugh, shaking his head lightly. He knew Lin Moyu had a sense of propriety, knowing what to ask and what not to ask. The two entered the low fortress core house. In the center of the house was a large rectangular conference table. There were 9 seats on each side with a main seat at the front. The commander of Fortress Number 1, Ku Yuanjun, sat in the first seat on the left of the main seat. An elder sat on the right side of the main seat, whom Lin Moyu didn't recognize. But he knew this elder's status must be extraordinary, likely an elder of Fortress Number 1. Zhu Qiwu pointed to an empty seat.
Sit anywhere you like.
He then directly sat in the main seat. Lin Moyu also didn't stand on ceremony and sat in the second seat on the left, next to Ku Yuanjun. Zhu Qiwu introduced
Ku Yuanjun, commander of Fortress Number 1.
Lin Moyu nodded and greeted Ku Yuanjun.
Senior, long time no see.
The two had met twice before and were somewhat familiar with each other. Zhu Qiwu then pointed to the white-robed elder on the right and said,
Elder Bai Qitian of Fortress Number 1.
Lin Moyu greeted Bai Qitian.
Greetings, Elder Bai.
Bai Qitian nodded slightly.
No need to be so formal, young friend Lin.
Each fortress had 4 elders, so it wasn't surprising to see one here. But Lin Moyu was curious why only one elder had come. Could it be that Elder Bai Qitian was related to the ancient tomb? Zhu Qiwu said.
Elder Bai's only son went to the ancient tomb and didn't return.
Lin Moyu thought to himself.
As expected.
He had guessed that Bai Qitian's presence was related to the ancient tomb. Lin Moyu then looked at Ku Yuanjun.
Keskiviko Yuanyun smiled bitterly.
My direct disciple also went to the ancient tomb.
Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask.
They were all god kings, right?
Bai Qitian and Ku Yuanjun both nodded. Lin Moyu sighed.
My condolences.
Although they had guessed this outcome, their expressions still changed. Both showed traces of sadness, especially Bai Qitian. That was his only son, and even as a god sovereign, Bai Qitian's eyes became moist. Who said heroes don't shed tears? It's just that they haven't reached the point of heartbreak. Lin Moyu's words shattered his last bit of hope. Zhu Qiwu coughed lightly.
Explain in detail.
Lin Moyu looked at Ku Yuanjun and Bai Qitian. He felt that knowing their loved ones had died was already a blow. If they learned that their souls were imprisoned and would remain in the cemetery forever, it would be another blow. Bai Qitian suppressed his grief and said softly,
It's okay, young friend Lin, just speak.
Ku Yuanjun also said,
We want to know the truth.
Lin Moyu recounted what he knew. When he mentioned the souls imprisoned in the cemetery, Bai Qitian couldn't help but shed tears. Ku Yuanjun's eyes grew sadder, his fists clenched and trembling, emitting cracking sounds. They never expected that after waiting for so many years, this would be the result. A sad result. Truly, curiosity killed the god kings. Zhu Qiwu sighed.
The mystery of the ancient tomb is solved. In that situation, ordinary god kings had no way out.
The implication was that only someone like Lin Moyu had a chance to survive. Zhu Qiwu would report this to the Human Emperor Network, and the mission would change accordingly. Looking at the silent Ku Yuanjun and Bai Qitian, Zhu Qiwu said again,
You are both god sovereigns, take life and death lightly. As for the souls in the cemetery, I'll see if there's a chance.
Bai Qitian's eyes lit up.
You mean?
Zhu Qiwu nodded but didn't answer directly.
Keskiviko Yuanyun respectfully saluted Chu Kibu.
Thank you, Lord Guardian.
Zhu Qiwu waved his hand.
I called you here to give you an answer. Now you can leave. I have something to discuss with this kid alone.
The two didn't hesitate and quickly got up to leave. Before leaving, they didn't forget to thank Lin Moyu. Although it was a sad result, at least they knew the outcome. They didn't doubt Lin Moyu's words. He had no reason to lie. Moreover, lying in front of god sovereigns was difficult. After they left, Zhu Qiwu lightly knocked on the table. The door of the house closed with a bang. Zhu Qiwu looked at Lin Moyu.
Continue, finish your story.
Lin Moyu had only mentioned how he entered the cemetery and discovered the imprisoned God King cleaners, but hadn't talked about what happened after passing the test. After passing the test, he might have returned directly or gained some benefits. But Zhu Qiwu felt it wouldn't be that simple. Lin Moyu wouldn't have rushed to find him for just that. The fewer the words, the more the matter. Zhu Qiwu thought the same. Lin Moyu said,
There are 8 cemeteries surrounding the central mountain. After passing the test, I entered the central mountain. I climbed to the top and saw some scenes from ancient times.
Lin Moyu described the scenes shown by the undying flame, including the giant coffin, the throne, and the skeleton general preparing to revive. He only omitted the part about the animal hide. The hide was already in his possession, and no one else would see it if they entered later. As long as he didn't mention it, no one would know. No, the skeleton general knew. But would the skeleton general speak? Zhu Qiwu's brows furrowed deeper, and his voice grew heavy.
You mean, it's preparing to revive?
1290. Chapter 1290, about ancient times. Lin Moyu corrected Zhu Qiwu's words.
It's not preparing to revive. It's already in the process of reviving.
Zhu Qiwu looked at Lin Moyu, signaling him to continue. Lin Moyu shared his thoughts.
Saying revive isn't quite accurate. It should be said that it never truly died but was severely injured and fell into a deep sleep. More precisely, it is awakening. During its slumber, it has been accumulating power through the ancient tomb. Now that it has accumulated enough power, it has officially begun to awaken. This can be seen from the previously dry fountain, which has started to spout water again, and the water it spouts is the water of death.
Zhu Qiwu said in a deep voice.
If we take away all the water of death from the fountain, can we stop its awakening?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
I've thought about this, but I don't think it will work, for 3 reasons. First, the water of death isn't spouting because it wants to awaken, but because it has accumulated too much power, causing it to overflow and spout again. Second, I clashed with its soul. Even though it was just its instinctual consciousness, I was completely defeated. If it weren't for good luck, I would have died there. I can feel that its soul is already complete and very powerful. Third, the water of death in the fountain can't be taken away. At least, I don't have the ability to do so. You can try finding someone else. Maybe it will work.
Zhu Qiwu fell into deep thought again. Lin Moyu's reasoning made sense. The first reason was entirely plausible. It seemed he had reversed the cause and effect. But this reason didn't change the outcome. The result was the same. The second reason made Zhu Qiwu feel troubled. He knew about Lin Moyu's soul. At the peak of the 4th grade, with a jade soul tinged with purple. One could say Lin Moyu's soul had reached the limit of the God-sovereign realm. Although his soul power wasn't as strong as a God-sovereign's, ordinary God-sovereigns couldn't kill Lin Moyu on the soul level. Even Zhu Qiwu would need to use some soul-level killing tools to kill Lin Moyu on the soul level. In terms of soul defense, Lin Moyu was more than capable of protecting himself, even if his offensive capabilities were lacking. Yet, he was still completely defeated, indicating that the opponent's soul power was overwhelmingly superior to Lin Moyu's. This also indirectly showed that the opponent was extremely powerful. At their level, the soul was the most important aspect. As long as the soul was intact, the physical body could be rebuilt without much difficulty. Zhu Qiwu concluded that as long as the opponent's soul awakened, true revival wouldn't be far off. As for the third reason, it wasn't significant, because the first reason already explained that the water of death was an excess product. So the third reason was more like an additional point. Zhu Qiwu asked in a deep voice,
Is there anything else you missed?
Lin Moyu thought for a moment, confirmed he hadn't missed anything, and then asked,
Senior, I have some questions.
Zhu Qiwu nodded.
Ask away.
Having just received such important information from Lin Moyu, Zhu Qiwu felt it wouldn't be appropriate to refuse his questions. Lin Moyu seized this opportunity to ask. Lin Moyu thought carefully. He knew his questions were limited, so he avoided asking trivial ones. However, he also knew that he couldn't ask about matters of great importance, as Zhu Qiwu wouldn't answer those. This made his questioning quite delicate. After some thought, Lin Moyu asked,
I want to know about ancient times.
Zhu Qiwu snorted.
Curiosity again?
Lin Moyu smiled but didn't speak. Zhu Qiwu asked,
What do you want to know?
Lin Moyu replied,
Anything you can tell me.
Zhu Qiwu stared at Lin Moyu for a full 2 seconds.
You sly kid getting craftier.
Lin Moyu corrected Zhu Qiwu again.
It's not craftiness. It's a bit of cleverness. Although I'm very curious, I also know my limits. Of course, in front of you, Senior, my little cleverness is nothing.
Lin Moyu handed the initiative to Zhu Qiwu, letting him decide what could be said and what couldn't. Information about ancient times was blank in the Human Emperor network. Perhaps with higher authority, one could access some information, but Lin Moyu knew that truly important information wouldn't be available for public viewing in the Human Emperor network. Zhu Qiwu held a high position and was the highest commander of the Vermilion Bird battlefield. The Vermilion Bird battlefield also had some connections to ancient times. Moreover, after the Mysterious Manor incident, Zhu Qiwu had taken Lin Moyu to meet a mysterious person. From the brief conversation with the mysterious person, Lin Moyu was certain that Zhu Qiwu knew some secrets about ancient times. Lin Moyu wanted to analyze Zhu Qiwu's words and combine them with his own knowledge to draw inferences. He was now quite sure that he had some connection to a certain power from ancient times. If the side that controlled the skeletons had a life-and-death battle with the human race in ancient times, then how would the human race's higher-ups view him, who controlled this power? But he couldn't ask such questions directly, so he could only infer and guess through other matters. Zhu Qiwu smiled.
All right, I'll tell you some things about ancient times.
Lin Moyu immediately perked up his ears and listened attentively. Zhu Qiwu closed his eyes and pondered, seemingly considering what could be said and what couldn't. After a few moments, Zhu Qiwu's voice slowly emerged.
Ancient times were a very old era. To understand ancient times, you first need to distinguish between different eras. We divide time into the primordial era, the ancient era, the near ancient era, and the present era. The present era belongs to the war god Xiao Zhantian. Before Xiao Zhantian, about 50,000 to 100,000 years ago, was the near ancient era. It was Xiao Zhantian's emergence that ended the near ancient era. The time of the ancient era is untraceable. I once studied it carefully and concluded that it was roughly between 500,000 to several million years ago, though not entirely accurate. As for the primordial era, it's even more ancient and not worth mentioning. Each era ends due to significant events, often because of a great disaster. It could be a natural disaster or a man-made one. In the ancient era, there seemed to have been a great war that affected a vast area. It was this war that triggered a great calamity, a massive disaster that truly ended that era.
Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask.
Was it a disaster like the one caused by war god Xiao Zhantian?
Zhu Qiwu denied Lin Moyu's words.
No, it was a far greater disaster. After that disaster, the great world was nearly destroyed and took countless years to recover. The races within the great world almost perished, with very few survivors. Because of this, there is very little information about the ancient era. Only in rare records can we find some clues. We don't know the cause of that great war. By we, I mean all races. Perhaps the Dragon Clan has some records of the ancient era, but not much.
Zhu Qiwu spoke slowly and clearly. Lin Moyu listened intently, rarely interrupting unless he couldn't help it. Zhu Qiwu explained in detail, sharing everything he could without holding back. 1291, 1291. Chapter 1291. Some things should not be said. In the restaurant of Fortress Number 1, the light sounds of dining could be heard. Lin Moyu chose a corner seat by the window, gazing out at the starry sky, watching the starlight that had traveled across countless light years. His mind was still pondering the words spoken by Zhu Qiwu earlier. Zhu Qiwu had said a lot, telling Lin Moyu everything he knew about the ancient times, at least the parts he could disclose. According to Zhu Qiwu, this information would be accessible to Lin Moyu once he became a god sovereign, but it would take time to collect and compile. Zhu Qiwu had condensed this information and presented it to Lin Moyu in an organized manner. Lin Moyu could tell that Zhu Qiwu was also very interested in the ancient times. Zhu Qiwu's curiosity was no less than his own. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bothered collecting and organizing information about the ancient times. A server brought a few exquisite dishes and a jar of wine. Lin Moyu took a sip. The wine was crisp and light, with a lingering aroma that wasn't overpowering. The wine body exploded within him, transforming into a clear stream that swept through his entire being. Immediately, an invisible force of laws flowed towards his soul, making his soul feel like a clear spring, and his thoughts became even clearer. The wine was called
Mind-clearing wine.
Brewed from a plant called
Mind-clearing grass.
Found in the 4 to 33 area of the Vermilion Bird battlefield. This wine was unique, containing special laws that directly affected the soul. Drinking a small amount could clear one's thoughts, aiding in contemplation. However, if consumed in excess, one's thoughts would become muddled for a period, unable to focus. These laws wouldn't cause any substantial damage, so they wouldn't trigger the soul's defense mechanisms. With the help of the mind-clearing wine, Lin Moyu began to combine Zhu Qiwu's words with his own knowledge, allowing them to merge. Gradually, some events from the ancient times became clearer to him. First, he could confirm that his profession, spells, and even laws were definitely related to the ancient times. In the ancient times, an unimaginable great calamity had occurred, causing changes throughout the great world. In that great calamity, races were extinguished, and worlds nearly collapsed. In the face of such a great calamity, any major changes in the world wouldn't be surprising. Laws could change, old races could perish, and new races could be born. The human race that emerged later might not even be the same human race from the ancient times, as it was difficult to discern. As Zhu Qiwu had suggested, the powerful beings from the ancient times must have found ways to save themselves. The chaos appearing in the battlefield areas, those things from the ancient times, might be independent worlds opened by the powerful beings of that era to survive the great calamity. Those independent worlds had avoided the great calamity and remained until now. Lin Moyu knew that Zhu Qiwu must have withheld some information. What could be said and what couldn't be said was under Zhu Qiwu's control, not his own. However, from Zhu Qiwu's words, Lin Moyu had still grasped some crucial information. For instance, when Zhu Qiwu referred to the ancient tomb and the skeleton general, he used the word
They.
instead of
He.
This implied that there were others similar to the skeleton general. There were indeed people from the ancient times who were still alive today. People who had lived since before the era of war god Xiao Zhantian truly existed. Almost every strong race had ancient monsters that had survived from the near-ancient era. Even Xiao Zhantian himself was still alive after tens of thousands of years. After all, at their level, living for tens of thousands of years wasn't a big deal. But to have lived since the ancient era and still be alive today was astonishing. To have survived the great calamity and still exist today, their strength must have been unimaginable. By the time the mind-clearing wine in the jar was depleted, Lin Moyu had organized all the information. He came to the following conclusion. The great calamity of the ancient times must have been that great war, which had nearly caused the collapse of the Great World Runes. The Great World Runes were the foundation of the world, and if they were damaged, it wouldn't be surprising for a great calamity to occur. The great calamity of the ancient times most likely arose from this. Almost all races and living beings perished during that period, with only a few remnants surviving, but their numbers wouldn't be significant. His profession and spells should have originated from a certain race in the ancient times, with the highest possibility being the same race that controlled skeletons. The path ahead was still shrouded in mystery, and he could only move forward through the dense fog, slowly searching for answers. Perhaps only when he reached the end and truly emerged from the fog, turning back to look, would he see the whole picture. Mere guesses couldn't provide complete certainty. In front of the 7 to 10 area, Zhu Qiwu and the man in black appeared simultaneously. The man in black was like a black hole, absorbing all light around him, making it difficult to detect his presence even at close range. Zhu Qiwu said,
You still plan to go and see for yourself?
The man in black's voice was low and solemn.
You know the old ancestors are very curious about this.
Zhu Qiwu revealed a strange smile.
Yes, they don't want to die. Some things should not be said.
The man in black glanced at Zhu Qiwu. Zhu Qiwu smiled awkwardly.
I understand.
He didn't say anything further, knowing he had misspoken. He didn't have the right to say certain things. The man in black looked at the 7 to 10 area for a moment. Then his figure faded and dissipated like bubbles. Zhu Qiwu knew that the man in black had entered the 7 to 10 area, perhaps even the ancient tomb itself. The restrictions of the 7 to 10 area couldn't stop him. In fact, none of the restrictions in the entire Vermilion Bird battlefield could stop him. He could go wherever he wanted with just a thought. Near the fountain in the ancient tomb, outside the third passage, the man in black appeared silently. A pair of bright lights shone from within his black hole-like form. His gaze swept over the fountain, witnessing the black water of death spouting from it once again.
Indeed, it has started spouting again.
He seemed pensive, having visited this place many years ago. At that time, the ancient tomb had just appeared, and the fountain was completely dry. Then he turned his gaze towards the third passage, the thick black fog unable to obscure his vision. He clearly saw the 8 entrances on both sides of the passage. When he had come before, there were no entrances. If there had been, they wouldn't have escaped his eyes. His figure moved, and he entered the thick black fog, randomly choosing one of the entrances. In the next moment, he appeared in the cemetery. His gaze swept across the cemetery, heading straight for the distant mountain. He had already learned about the situation in the cemetery from Zhu Qiwu, so he wouldn't wait for the undying flame to rise like Lin Moyu. With a single step, he was already in the cemetery. In the cemetery, there were God King cleaners meticulously sweeping the grounds. He sensed the aura of the cemetery and spoke in a low, solemn voice.
The power of rules.
There was a hint of displeasure in his voice. Among the God King cleaners, there were quite a few from the human race. Seeing the souls of the same race God Kings imprisoned here, he showed a trace of displeasure. His aura rippled slightly, and with another step, he appeared on the mountain top. He ignored the rules of the cemetery. On the mountain top, it was utterly silent, without even the sound of wind. The undying flame had not yet risen, and only the massive coffin and the throne carved with skulls stood silently, having remained there for countless years. The man in black lightly stomped his foot, and a vast force swept out, causing the entire mountain to rumble.
Come out.
1292 Chapter 1292. The first show of the Legion Commander. With a single step, flames surged. The undying flame quickly rose from the base of the mountain, appearing on the torch at the mountain's peak, burning fiercely. Within the undying flame, a soul fire shone particularly brightly. Compared to when Lin Moyu arrived, the soul fire had become even stronger.
Still not fully revived?
The man in black looked at the soul fire within the undying flame and spoke softly. The revival of a strong being also required time. This time could be a few days or even a few hundred years. The soul of the skeleton general was currently reviving but had not yet fully revived. The undying flame burned fiercely, and the soul fire within it also kept flickering. Suddenly, the man in black's figure paused, and his soul world was attacked. The same situation that Lin Moyu experienced appeared in the man in black's soul world. A giant skeleton head roared at the man in black. In its not fully revived state, the skeleton general only had instincts. It instinctively sensed a threat and then counterattacked. The skeleton general's soul attack was strong, but the man in black's strength was far beyond Lin Moyu's. He merely snorted, and the skeleton general's soul attack was dissolved. The man in black looked at the fiercely burning undying flame and gently shook his head. In the next moment, his figure disappeared and reappeared in the sky. The entire cemetery was in full view, with 8 fan-shaped cemeteries surrounding the central mountain. In the 8 cemeteries, a large number of God King cleaners were working. He reached out his hand, and hundreds of God King cleaners were simultaneously enveloped by an invisible force, slowly rising into the air. At this moment, the cemetery lit up with a hum, shining brightly, and a strong suction force emerged from the cemetery, preventing the God King cleaners from leaving. The man in black snorted disdainfully.
Although you are a treasure of rules, without a master, you are not qualified to fight against me.
As his words fell, he exerted more force. The space shattered layer by layer, and the light of the cemetery was immediately suppressed. The souls of the God King cleaners were all absorbed into his palm, and then his figure faded and completely disappeared. The undying flame still illuminated the entire cemetery, but a third of the God King cleaners were gone, taken away by the man in black. Outside the 7 to 10 area, the man in black appeared beside Zhu Qiwu without any warning. He held a ball of light in his hand, containing numerous souls. These were all the souls of human God Kings, the God Kings who had gone missing over the years, and the man in black had brought them out this time. Zhu Qiwu took the ball of light, carefully examined it, and sighed.
What a pity.
The souls had dull eyes, clearly having lost their intelligence. Losing their intelligence was even worse than soul damage, making them almost impossible to save.
In the great world, life and death are normal.
The man in black said without any sympathy in his voice. As he said, life and death in the great world were normal. Even he might die at any time. Zhu Qiwu was just momentarily emotional. He put away the ball of light and asked,
Did you find out anything?
The man in black shook his head.
No, he hasn't fully revived yet.
From his voice, no emotion could be discerned. It seemed like it didn't matter. Zhu Qiwu said,
Then let's wait until he revives to ask.
The man in black nodded slightly.
The revival speed is not fast. It will take at least 100 years. In the meantime, you can have him look elsewhere.
Zhu Qiwu chuckled.
I had the same thought. That kid is quite capable and lucky. He might find some useful information.
The man in black responded with a hum.
I just made a move, and some old guys might have noticed. I'll leave first.
With that, the man in black's figure shattered like bubbles and disappeared without a trace. Zhu Qiwu took out his vehicle, and with a jump, the warship disappeared as well. Less than 10 seconds after he left, an invisible force swept over, scanning back and forth a few times before disappearing. Lin Moyu called for more wine and slowly drank, finishing the dishes he had ordered bit by bit. His thoughts were now completely clear, and he had made corresponding guesses about many things that happened in ancient times. What he lacked now was information. Lin Moyu was eager to understand whether the ones who fought against the skeletons back then were humans.
It seems that next, I need to specifically look for tasks related to ancient times. From the information I have now, there should be many relics from ancient times left on the battlefield, and there might even be people who have survived since ancient times. Just like the one in the black hole pit of Area 7 to 77, could he be a person from ancient times? Unfortunately, I'm too weak.
Lin Moyu knew his own strength. In front of such big shots, he could be killed easily. How to safely obtain information became Lin Moyu's primary concern. After eating and drinking his fill, Lin Moyu left the restaurant. On the way, Lin Moyu constantly received glances from others. He was now a famous person. Anyone who frequently moved around Fortress No. 1 would recognize Lin Moyu. He was ranked first on both the combat power and potential lists and second on the contribution list. This was enough to prove that Lin Moyu was a top-tier genius. Some people were even speculating whether Lin Moyu would be first on all three lists. Lin Moyu continuously received the power of belief from the void, which gathered like a river. Now, if he wanted, he could step into the 8th stage of the true God realm at any time. But he felt that he still had some gaps in his understanding of the laws and wanted to consolidate further. Lin Moyu arrived at the training ground and rented a training chamber. The door closed, and the training chamber plunged into darkness. Then, the array in the training chamber slowly activated, illuminating the entire room again. The training chamber was made of special materials, very strong, and combined with the array, it could withstand attacks from God King level beings. At the same time, the walls of the training chamber could display the strength of attacks, allowing practitioners to test their spells. Although the rent was not cheap, it was well thought out. Lin Moyu rented the training chamber not for training but to transform the Lich General. He wanted to transform the Lich General into a Legion commander, thereby creating a Legion. First, he summoned Commander No. 1. Commander No. 1, standing 10 meters tall with bulging muscles, appeared beside Lin Moyu, bowing his head and saying in a muffled voice,
Commander No. 1, at your service, Master.
As he spoke, he was about to kneel, but Lin Moyu quickly stopped him. Lin Moyu looked at the wall not far away.
Use Dominion, gather the power of the entire Legion, and attack the wall.
Lin Moyu's words were like a decree, and Commander No. 1 didn't hesitate at all. He let out a low shout, and layers of gray light radiated from his body. The 100,000 bone dragons under his command roared in unison in the soul world. Gathering the power of the entire Legion didn't require summoning the Legion. It could be done in the soul world. Commander No. 1's aura surged, and gray-white flames began to emanate from his body. Half a second later, Commander Number 1 raised his battle blade and slashed fiercely at the wall. The blade light illuminated the entire chamber, striking the wall heavily. Attack strength, God King 6th stage. Seeing this information, Lin Moyu was slightly pleased, and a satisfied expression appeared on his face. A 3rd stage God King Legion commander, gathering the power of 100,000 bone dragons, could unleash an attack at the 6th stage of the God King realm. Lin Moyu was extremely satisfied with the first show of the Legion commander. 1293 1293. Chapter 1293. A spell star with autonomous consciousness. A 3rd stage God King capable of unleashing the attack power of a 6th stage God King is already very powerful. Lin Moyu thought that even though it could only strike once every 10 minutes, it was enough. He didn't have just one Legion commander. He planned to transform all the Lich generals into Legion commanders. With 1,000,000 Legion commanders, he could command 1,000,000 legions. Currently, it was impossible to have so many skeletons for them to command, but in the future, Lin Moyu always planned ahead. Next, Lin Moyu tested the combat power of the bone dragons. Without joining a legion and without the command bonus, and not considering the enhancement from the original spell, the combat power of the bone dragons was at the 1st stage of the God King level. Not weak, but not strong within the undead legion. After fusing with the spell, the combat power of the Death Knight could reach the 2nd stage of the God King level, and the Skeleton God General could reach the 3rd stage of the God King level. Therefore, the opportunity to use the bone dragons alone was rare. If used, they would be fused with the Death Knights. However, with the command bonus, the combat power of the bone dragons greatly increased, reaching the peak of the 2nd stage of the God King level, surpassing the Death Knights and approaching the Skeleton God Generals. Now, if 100,000 Skeleton God Generals fought against 100,000 bone dragons with the command bonus, the outcome would be hard to determine. The healing ability of the Legion commander was too abnormal. As long as they weren't dead, most injuries could be healed in a very short time. Moreover, Commander Number 1 could occasionally unleash an attack at the 6th stage of the God King level, equivalent to a small Skeleton King. The Death Knights were eliminated, replaced by the Bone Dragons with the command bonus. Lin Moyu couldn't help but think that as his strength increased, the level of the Legion commanders would also increase. The number of legions each commander could command would also increase. As the number of legions increased, the mutual enhancement among Legion members would also increase. Coupled with the bonus from the 9-star spell, would it be possible to abandon the fusion spell? Perhaps a legion of 1,000,000 Skeleton God warriors would be stronger than the same number of Skeleton God generals. Thinking of this, Lin Moyu felt a bit excited.
It's not impossible.
He began to transform the Lich generals. The undying flame exploded, enveloping the entire training chamber. Using his soul and the undying flame, he awakened the intelligence of the Lich generals, transforming them into Legion commanders. Fortunately, the command transformation didn't require much of his soul. Just a wisp was enough. And fortunately, he was now at the true God level. If he still had the soul strength from the small world, he wouldn't be able to split much before exhausting himself, transforming 1,000,000 Lich generals who knew how long it would take. From unfamiliar to familiar, the transformation speed increased. His soul was strong enough that after splitting tens of thousands of wisps, he only felt a bit of soul depletion. This feeling was similar to when he was upgrading his spells. His soul felt drained, and his body was weak. So Lin Moyu had already thought of a countermeasure. In the small world, he had Antares to help. But now, Lin Moyu chose soul self-detonation. With a bang, his soul exploded, and the talent tree shook violently, scattering thousands of purple lights. Lin Moyu's body trembled, and his soul was reborn in the purple light. The newly born soul was incredibly full, restored to its peak state. As a true god, Lin Moyu's supreme talent had reached the 3rd stage, allowing him to complete a rebirth every 40 seconds. So Lin Moyu didn't care about consuming soul power. He repeated the process, throwing out large amounts of undying flame, splitting his soul, and continuing the transformation. Days passed, and Lin Moyu was fully immersed in the transformation, ignoring the passage of time. After an unknown period, he finally transformed all the Lich generals into Legion commanders. At this moment, the spell star representing the Lich generals changed, and the spell star no longer housed Lich generals but Legion commanders. The Infinite Fusion spell star trembled slightly, emitting light, resonating with the Summon Lich General spell.
The spell star is different.
Lin Moyu noticed that the Summon Lich General spell star had changed. The light of the spell star became brighter, and the star itself grew larger. Brighter and larger meant the spell had become stronger. The Summon Lich General spell star had transformed into the Summon Legion Commander spell star. Lin Moyu was slightly surprised, realizing that in the future, he could directly summon Legion commanders without needing to transform them himself. Once again, Infinite Fusion demonstrated its magic. It was like a high and mighty king, overlooking all spell stars. Usually, it remained silent, but when needed, it would take action. Lin Moyu had often wondered if this magical spell star had developed self-awareness. Otherwise, many things couldn't be explained. Just like when Su Jianxing took out the mysterious iron block, the Infinite Fusion spell star clearly showed a desire for it. A spell star developing self-awareness was truly bizarre, something Lin Moyu had never heard of. It was too outrageous. Temporarily setting aside his confusion, Lin Moyu began to allocate his troops. Currently, there were too many commanders and too few troops. With 1,000,000 Legion commanders but only 1,000,000 Death Knights, each commander could only command 10,000 troops. There were even fewer Bone Dragons, only 500,000. This allowed for the formation of only 15 legions. Not even a fraction of the 1,000,000 Legion commanders. Lin Moyu had a bold idea. He tried to have Legion commanders command other Legion commanders. This would perfectly solve the problem of having too many Legion commanders. But unfortunately, his idea couldn't be realized. Legion commanders couldn't command other Legion commanders. His idea was too far-fetched. There were 9 million basic skeletons, but they could only be divided among 90 Legion commanders. Moreover, Lin Moyu didn't want to use the basic skeletons. Currently, the skeleton god generals were still the main combat force, irreplaceable. The appearance of the Legion commanders was just icing on the cake for now. He first allocated the Death Knights and Bone Dragons, forming 15 legions. The Bone Dragon legions were named Bone Dragon legions, numbered 1 to 5. The Death Knight legions were named Death Knight legions, numbered 1 to 10. The combat power of the Death Knight legions was close to the second stage of the God King level, and the Legion commanders could unleash attacks at the 5th stage of the God King level. The combat power of the Bone Dragon legions was close to the 3rd stage of the God King level, and the Legion commanders could unleash attacks at the 6th stage of the God King level. This filled the combat power gap between the Skeleton God Generals and the Skeleton King. The 15 Legion commanders, now with their troops, bowed respectfully to Lin Moyu.
Ready to die for the master.
Their voices were extremely devout, the most loyal soldiers in the world. No matter the situation, they would never betray. If Lin Moyu ordered them to die, they wouldn't hesitate for a moment. After putting away the Legion commanders, Lin Moyu took out the Calamity Staff from his soul.
Next, it's time to study the Calamity Staff.
Just as he finished speaking, a message arrived from the Human Emperor Network. The message was from Yu Zhu, containing only 3 words.
The goods have arrived.
1294, 1294. Chapter 1294. Materials from the Law Star River. Lin Moyu checked the time and realized he had been in the cultivation chamber for over a month. A month might not seem long or short, but for a cultivator, even a casual retreat could be measured in years. Lin Moyu put away the Calamity Staff he had just taken out, planning to study it later. Now, it was time to go to the trading center to meet Yu Zhu and pick up the goods.
I wonder what kind of goods have been found. Hopefully, there are materials at the God Sovereign level. Only then can the Elemental Lich be of some use.
Without good materials, the Elemental Lich was just a pile of trash. But with good materials, the Elemental Lich could display astonishing effects. He had seen how powerful the Elemental Lich could be. During a skill demonstration, A flame elemental lich had set enemies in the starry sky ablaze, turning them to ashes regardless of their strength. The elemental lich was a true area of effect weapon, capable of continuous attacks. All of this was possible because of infinite fusion, which gave him limitless possibilities.
The Calamity Staff needs to be studied. Spell fusion also needs to be studied.
Lin Moyu sighed inwardly as he arrived at the trading center. Led by a staff member, he went to the trading room in the backyard. It was still the same pavilion, with the familiar scent of iced tea wafting through the air. The beautiful Yuzhu was sitting behind the tea table, gently handling the tea set. Today, Yuzhu wore a slightly tight pink robe, accentuating her lovely figure. The robe was embroidered with lifelike flowers, but Yuzhu's beauty outshone the flowers on the robe. Lin Moyu, being a regular customer, naturally walked in and sat by the tea table. After taking a sip of the refreshing tea, letting the cold sensation spread through his body, he finally spoke.
You seem to particularly enjoy iced tea.
Yuzhu giggled and poured tea for Lin Moyu.
It's all because of the captain.
She was referring to the transaction involving the stellar fire essence, her eyes showing a mix of blame and playfulness. Yuzhu's temperament was ever-changing, and Lin Moyu wondered which elder in her family she had learned from this time. The formation in the pavilion activated, turning it into an independent space. Lin Moyu got straight to the point.
Did you find the materials?
Yuzhu placed 4 jade boxes on the tea table.
God Sovereign level materials are hard to find.
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
I trust in the strength of your Yu family, and it seems you have found them.
Yuzhu playfully glared at Lin Moyu.
We paid a great price to get these.
She suddenly lowered her voice.
Captain, let me tell you, God Sovereign level materials are not scarce, but most of them are controlled by the military or the War God Hall.
Lin Moyu understood. The Great World was vast, and even if God Sovereign level materials were rare, they wouldn't be too scarce on the scale of the Great World. Moreover, he only needed a small amount, which wasn't much. Look at the God Sovereign level warships and fortresses. They were all made from God Sovereign level materials. Similarly, God Sovereign level materials were strategic resources, controlled by the military or the War God Hall, which was normal. If a rogue God Sovereign wanted God Sovereign level materials, they would have to pay a hefty price. Some precious materials couldn't be bought even if a God Sovereign was willing to pay. This showed that Yuzhu's family indeed had significant connections, at least enough to buy these materials. Yuzhu opened the first jade box and quickly withdrew her hand. A burst of firelight shot out from the jade box, revealing a bright red gemstone inside. The gemstone was flame-shaped, with a flame burning at its center. Lin Moyu used a long-and-used detection spell on the gemstone. Stellar Flame Crystal. A gemstone from the Flame Law Star River, God Sovereign level material, can be used to forge flame weapons, enhancing the power of flame laws. The detection spell's result surprised Lin Moyu.
Things can fall out of the Lost Star River?
Lin Moyu looked puzzled. Yuzhu giggled.
There are many treasures in the Lost Star River, but they are hard to obtain.
Lin Moyu looked at Yuzhu.
Tell me more.
He still lacked knowledge in this area. Coming from a small world with only 4th-level access, his understanding of the Great World was still limited. Although he had learned a lot, he couldn't compare to someone like Yuzhu who had family heritage in the Great World. Yuzhu giggled and explained it to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu finally gained a deeper understanding of the Lost Star River. The Lost Star River was a place only God Sovereigns could enter, and only their souls could go in, not their physical bodies. Ordinary God Sovereigns couldn't stay long in the Lost Star River. They would spend all their time comprehending the essence of the laws, with no time to search for treasures in the Lost Star River. Only powerful God Sovereigns could venture deep into the Lost Star River to find its treasures. The Stellar Flame Crystal was one such treasure from the Flame Lost Star River. However, it wasn't just God Sovereigns who could obtain items from the Lost Star River. Sometimes the Lost Star River would manifest and occasionally items would fall out. So the detection spell's result wasn't wrong. As for how the Stellar Flame Crystal was obtained, it didn't matter. Whether it was brought by a god sovereign or fell out on its own, it made no difference to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu was very satisfied with this material.
How much is it?
He knew it wouldn't be cheap, and it might not even be available for purchase with points. He had only paid 100 million points as a deposit, unsure if it was enough. Yu Zhu held up 4 fingers.
40 million points.
Expensive, but within an acceptable range. Lin Moyu reached for the stellar flame crystal, but Yu Zhu exclaimed.
Wait.
Lin Moyu stopped.
What's wrong?
Yu Zhu explained.
This is a god sovereign level material, soaked in the Lost Star River for so long that it has gained some sentience. If you touch it directly, its flames might burn you.
No wonder she had withdrawn her hand so quickly earlier. Yu Zhu handed over a glove.
This is an ice glove made by the Ice Clan. Wearing it can resist most flame damage.
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
I don't think I need it.
He reached out and grabbed the stellar flame crystal. The flame crystal immediately burst into flames, burning fiercely in Lin Moyu's hand. The pavilion was instantly filled with firelight, and the temperature rose sharply. Yu Zhu's face turned pale with fright, and she instinctively shrank back. Lin Moyu, however, seemed unfazed. The flame's temperature was high, but not as high as the blue flames of the blue flame star. However, the flame contained laws, making it more damaging than the blue flames. But it was just a piece of material, and this bit of law couldn't harm Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu examined the crystal, feeling the power within the power of a god-sovereign level, and was very satisfied.
Not bad. 40 million points is worth it.
1295, 1295. Chapter 1295. I hope you can grant a favor. Jeju stared wide-eyed as Lin Moyu's actions once again refreshed her understanding. Even a god king shouldn't be so brazen in handling the stellar river law crystal. The high temperature inside was no joke. Unless one was a god king skilled in the laws of flame, only then could one be so unrestrained. But Lin Moyu clearly wasn't. However, recalling Lin Moyu's many wonders, Jeju felt a sense of unsurprise. She drank her iced tea nonchalantly to cool herself down. After admiring the stellar flame crystal for a while, Lin Moyu put it back into the jade box and closed the lid. Jeju pointed to the second jade box beside her.
Captain, please take a look yourself.
She sipped her iced tea leisurely. Lin Moyu didn't mind and joked.
Your service isn't very good. I'll have to complain about you later.
Jeju's eyes widened as if enlightened.
Captain, you actually make jokes?
Lin Moyu laughed but didn't respond. His mood was good, so he cracked a joke. He opened the second box, and as soon as it opened, a beam of starlight shot out from the box. The starlight exploded in the pavilion, weaving into a starry sky. Lin Moyu sensed a rich aura of the starlight laws. The starlight laws were among the most prevalent in the great world, with the most cultivators. Many variants had also evolved from the starlight laws. Some manipulated the starlight laws into weapons and shields. Others used the starlight laws for defense. Some even used the starlight laws for array formations. It was a versatile second echelon law. The starlight woven above gave Lin Moyu a sense of array formations. He judged that this material was likely related to a god-sovereign skilled in array formations. Inside the jade box was a round bead covered in patterns resembling runes and array formations. Countless starlight dots flickered inside, shining intermittently. It seemed chaotic yet followed some order. Jeju said,
This is a law bead condensed by a god sovereign. The Starfall god sovereign used the starlight laws to set up a grand array, continuously condensing starlight for 100 years to produce a few starlight law beads. This one, we sought for a long time.
Here, Jeju suddenly stopped speaking and didn't continue. Lin Moyu could roughly guess the rest.
How much?
He believed that compared to the stellar flame crystal, this starlight law bead would be more expensive. After all, it took the god sovereign 100 years of effort. Jeju took a sip of tea and quoted a number.
60 million points.
Expensive, but still within an acceptable range. Lin Moyu nodded.
Okay.
This price was still affordable for him. He earned points quickly, so he didn't value them much. As long as he could use points to buy what he needed, that's what mattered. Points that couldn't be spent were just numbers, not true points. Jeju asked curiously.
You're not going to bargain?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
You must have bargained on my behalf.
Jeju's beautiful face turned slightly red as she gazed intently at Lin Moyu.
Captain, I just realized your mouth is quite sweet too.
Lin Moyu reverted to his straightforward nature for the second sentence.
I'm just telling the truth.
He looked up, sensing the starlight law bead. It was indeed crafted by a god-sovereign array formation master, containing a hint of array formations within. He wondered what it would become after transforming into an elemental lich. Putting away the starlight law bead, Lin Moyu looked at the third jade box. Following Jeju's arrangement order, the material in this third box should be better and more expensive than the previous ones. Lin Moyu opened the third box, and a pure white light illuminated the entire pavilion. Even the array formation in the pavilion couldn't block the radiance, letting much of it through. This was pure light, without a trace of impurity. It shot out like an arrow, moving at an astonishing speed, crashing around the pavilion. Jeju giggled.
Captain, you need to find a way to catch it.
Lin Moyu had already seen the true form of this material, a beam of pure white light, about as long as a pinky finger and slightly thicker than a strand of hair. It glowed all over and shot out the moment the jade box opened. Only the array formation prevented it from leaving the pavilion, forcing it to crash around inside. It moved at the speed of light because it was light itself. The extreme speed created the illusion that the entire pavilion was enveloped in bright light. Hearing Jeju's words, Lin Moyu knew this girl had known all along and was waiting for him to make a fool of himself. Although the space wasn't large, an ordinary person would find it difficult to catch something moving at the speed of light. But it wasn't a challenge for Lin Moyu. If it tried to escape outside, Lin Moyu might be helpless. But in this small area, red light fell, enveloping the entire pavilion except for the small area where Jeju sat, with red light. Spell? Time Curse. The time curse not only targeted souls but almost everything in the world fell within its cursed range. A spell fusing 3 spells, containing the power of the time laws, instantly slowed down everything around it. It didn't need to slow down too much, just enough for Lin Moyu to see and catch it. The light was also affected by the curse, with a red glow appearing on the white beam. The red glow, like fresh blood, enveloped it, following it wherever it went. Cursed, its speed slowed down. Lin Moyu was prepared, pinching it between 2 fingers like a strand of hair. In the next second, the curse disappeared, and the light struggled fiercely at Lin Moyu's fingertips. But no matter how it struggled, it was futile. Clap, clap, clap. Jeju clapped.
Captain is so powerful, even able to catch this.
Lin Moyu said.
What if I couldn't catch it?
Jeju giggled.
Actually, if you activated the array on the jade box, it would have obediently returned.
Indeed, because of this restriction, Jeju wasn't in a hurry at all. She had originally planned to tell Lin Moyu if he couldn't catch it. But unexpectedly, Lin Moyu could even catch light itself.
How many points?
A material containing the laws of light speed, a god-sovereign level material, the price must be very high. Jeju giggled.
80 million, mainly because materials containing the light speed laws are too rare, a precious commodity, as you know, Captain.
Lin Moyu didn't say much and directly put the beam of light back into the jade box, activating the array to restrain it. There was still one last box. Before Lin Moyu could open it, Jeju's delicate jade hand had already pressed on the box. Jeju's beautiful face seemed conflicted.
Captain, I need to say something first.
Lin Moyu responded with a sound.
Go ahead. This material is a bit special. Once the jade box is opened, you can't return it. I can tell you the price first, 100 million points. If your points aren't enough, my jade family can give it to you for free.
Lin Moyu looked at Jeju. In this world, how could there be such a good thing as the Jade family giving him a 100 million point material for free? He knew there must be more to it. Jade Zhu's gaze was conflicted.
Actually, the elders in my family hope you can grant them a favor.
1296 1296. Chapter 1296. God Sovereign Level Spiritual Material. Accepting a favor, as it sounds nice, actually means owing the Yu family a favor. Lin Moyu's current strength is indeed average, but for a big family like the Yu family, there must be God Sovereigns within the clan. There might even be beings beyond God Sovereigns. However, in the future, no one can say how far he can grow. He might fall halfway, or he might grow all the way to become a God Sovereign, or even surpass a God Sovereign. The Yu family is essentially making an investment. If Lin Moyu truly grows, and something happens within the Yu family, this favor will be invaluable. This is just the surface. Lin Moyu thought more deeply. In a big family like the Yu family, there is likely internal competition. Saying he owes the Yu family a favor might actually mean he owes a favor to Yu Zhu's branch of the family. Lin Moyu's gaze subtly changed. He looked at Yu Zhu with a half-smile.
My favor is very expensive.
Lin Moyu had confidence in himself, and he knew the Yu family wouldn't easily ask him to repay the favor. 1 billion points might seem like a lot, but in the end, it's just a God Sovereign level material. If he really wanted it, he could ask Zhu Qiwu for it, and he wouldn't be unable to get it. Moreover, he didn't like the Yu family's approach. However, Yu Zhu mentioned it before opening the box, so it didn't break his principles. If Yu Zhu had said this after he opened the box, his relationship with the Yu family might have changed. Yu Zhu pouted, looking a bit playful and a bit angry.
I knew I couldn't hide it from the captain. I also told the elders in my family that although this item is good, they shouldn't set such conditions. Either don't sell it, or just give it directly. What is this?
Lin Moyu looked at Yu Zhu's expression and said softly,
Actually, your elders did the right thing. Most people would accept it.
1 billion points is a huge sum for most cultivators, so most people would choose to accept it. But similarly, the Yu family wouldn't offer such a price to ordinary people. Using 1 billion points to exchange for a favor without even a promise, what if the person turns their back on them? So for the Yu family, it's also a gamble. Lin Moyu continued,
Maybe your elders think I won't refuse. You also said it's a good thing. Even if I don't know what's inside, just based on your words, I shouldn't refuse. But I think my favor is worth more than 1 billion points.
Yu Shusite.
Alright, I'll take the item back then.
She knew Lin Moyu only had 2 billion points. After buying the first 3 items, he wouldn't have enough points left. Lin Moyu shook his head.
No need. Since it's a good thing, I still want it.
Yu Zhu had a discerning eye. The previous 3 items were all God Sovereign level materials, and she hadn't said anything similar. For her to call this a good thing, it must be extraordinary. Moreover, the 1 billion points price also indicated that the item's grade was very high. Since it was already in front of him, how could he easily let it go? Lin Moyu took the box from Yu Zhu's hand. Yu Zhu stared at him, not knowing what he meant. Lin Moyu didn't hesitate and directly opened the box. A black light flew out from the box, enveloping Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt a mysterious connection with the material inside the box. The entire piece of metal exuded a mysterious spirituality, feeling like a living being. At this moment, he understood why the box couldn't be returned once opened.
Spiritual material, indeed it can't be returned.
He quickly recalled information about spiritual materials in his mind. Spiritual material is a term for a type of material, not a specific material. It refers to materials that have developed spirituality, similar to how a magical artifact develops a spirit, greatly enhancing its value. Using spiritual materials to forge magical artifacts almost guarantees the creation of a spirit within the artifact. Once a magical artifact has a spirit, its power increases significantly. For example, the sword in Yu Qingrou's hand, although a lower-level God King artifact, can exert the power of a high-level God King artifact. Its value is higher than Lin Moyu's soul-severing sword and Battle King Tower. If a God Sovereign level spiritual material is used to forge a God Sovereign level artifact with a spirit, its value would be immeasurable. So, it truly is a good thing, and 1 billion points is not expensive. However, spiritual materials have a drawback. Because they possess spirituality, they will actively recognize a master. The recognition process is very simple and straightforward. Basically, the first person to touch it or even get close to it will be recognized as its master. The material in front of him was like this. When Lin Moyu opened the box, its aura fell on him, recognizing him as its master. From now on, only Lin Moyu could use it. Even if it were to be forged into a magical artifact, Lin Moyu would have to do it himself. If given to someone else, it would lose its spirituality and be no different from ordinary God Sovereign level materials. Lin Moyu said softly,
To obtain even spiritual materials, your Yu family is truly impressive.
The rarity of spiritual materials is well known throughout the great world. God King level spiritual materials are already extremely rare, and God Sovereign level ones are even harder to come by. Unexpectedly, the Yu family managed to obtain one. Yu Zhu explained,
Our Yu family is one of the few in the great world capable of producing spiritual materials. However, the production is very limited, especially for God Sovereign level ones, which are extremely rare.
Lin Moyu knew Yu Zhu was right. God Sovereign level spiritual materials were indeed rare. Because of their special nature, they rarely appeared in the outside world. Whoever obtained them would keep them. Lin Moyu was surprised that the Yu family could produce spiritual materials. This alone was enough to make the Yu family a prominent family among the human race. Yu Zhu looked troubled.
Captain, you don't want to owe the Yu family a favor, but you've opened the box. What should we do? I don't have enough points to give you.
Lin Moyu held the spiritual material in his hand, feeling a close connection, and said,
I have enough points.
Yu Zhu's eyes widened in disbelief. She had personally handled all of Lin Moyu's transactions and knew exactly how many points he had. Unless Lin Moyu had a large number of points beforehand. Lin Moyu explained,
A few days ago, someone challenged me and made some extravagant bets, then lost some points to me.
Yu Zhu knew about this, but she didn't know the specifics of the bets and couldn't help but ask.
How much did you win?
Lin Moyu said lightly,
Not much, just 80 million.
Yu Zhu was momentarily speechless, her small mouth pouting.
What do you mean just 80 million?
For most cultivators, 80 million points is a huge sum. Only God Sovereigns wouldn't care about 80 million. After quickly calculating in her mind, the total price of the materials was 280 million points. Lin Moyu's points should be more than 280 million. Her beautiful eyes revealed joy.
So, the captain's points are enough.
1,297, 1,297.